Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. And in this episode, we're going to review episode 7 of Succession, now streaming on HBO Max. What an eventful episode, to say the least. It was sure was a party. A lot of tension, a lot of drama, as you would expect. Dylan, one of my favorite episodes, by the way. Dylan, why don't you give us your thoughts?
Oh man, what a party indeed. Yeah. Everybody's out for blood. A lot of, plays, a lot of agendas. And yeah, I thought overall the dialogue scenes were great. And yeah, Shiv kind of dug a hole for herself in this episode, I must say. You definitely called it. But yeah, what were your thoughts on this episode?
Yes, it sure was a shit show for Shiv. Also Connor. I love Connor's character here. The whole thing I think was really awkward, but it was also a showcase of duets or couples. Everyone they're kind of paired off, except for Kendall. Unfortunately, I felt really bad for him. It kind of shows like how alone Kendall actually is, because what's interesting is we kind of preface with Kendall speaking to his ex-wife and they're speaking about the kids, and then Kendall's alone, and then everyone else, they have their own couples, albeit like Roman and Jerry are kind of in a rocky place at the moment. But for the most part, or even Madsen and that communications person, like that's still weird. Yeah. But there are some revelations about Madsen. He's not the perfect hero, not the knight in shining armor. So yeah,
the Swede begins to bleed.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Roman was trying to get dirt on him in this episode, and now we see that he's not all what he's about.
Right.
And yeah, Shiv, as we've already mentioned, she was trying to get a little more leverage out of Madsen and try to solidify her position. And I felt like it was kind of like sneakily done. Like I think she was even willing to like throw her brothers under the bus. But even Madsen like seemed like he wasn't sure. Like he was kind of like like, oh yeah, sure, I'll think about it. Like whatever. Like he was being a pussy about it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and that whole like argument she had with Tom, that was so brutally honest. I felt like I was in that conversation. I was like, ooh. Yeah, what'd you think about that? The whole balcony scene.
Beautifully done by two talented actors. I think this is the first time we actually really get to see these two actually be real.
Clear the air.
The air, but be real. Like it's about time. It's as if every time they argued in the past, it had a little meter to say, okay, you're going too far, that's it, you ran out of time. This time it's like this whole season, I think, it led up to this, and I think it was performed excellent. I like the camera work too. They showed just the right amounts of both actors and their facial expressions, which I appreciate, because I think that's why you kind of felt sucked into it, because the music was out, there was ambient noise, and then plus the camera switching back and forth. I felt like I was watching my neighbors fight or something like that. So I thought it was really devastating as well, because one could say that like they feel sorry for Tom in this scenario, because everybody wants to be loved, and you could kind of put yourself in Tom's shoes. Although Tom is like, yeah, she does have good points. Like Tom just wants a genetic ladder in a way. It's kind of weird how they make some I'd say characteristics of Tom kind of more feminine in a way. Like we seen back then in movies, women try to do this or something like this, where they try to have a powerful person get them pregnant, right? I mean, everybody knows about that. But this time it's reversed. And so I like how they play with that. How do you make this character that's a male try to stay within the family? What else do you think about that?
Yeah, for sure. It was kind of heartbreaking because it was kind of like a failed experiment. It was like we thought like maybe they could hash it out, right? Because it seems like they were getting close. I have to remember the bar or the party where they were like biting each other, right? They were being a little more playful. Yeah. They're kind of like looking past water under the bridge. Mm-hmm. But now it seems like this is who they're always going to be, and no matter what they think they can achieve together, it's like they're two different people, and mainly this whole relationship was based around power, and that's not a good construct to build a relationship off of. Perhaps for Tom it was real, like he even said like I wanted this relationship to be about love, and for Shiv maybe it was more about power in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like Tom got the short end of the stick. I feel like he was very supportive a lot of times, like during the series. Like he was always kind of like that shoulder that Shiv could rely on if she was in a troubled time or a tough time. But I feel like she's always done like Tom kind of like dirty over the series.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard because all these characters, they're on a floating platform, and at any moment that platform will disintegrate and they'll fall. And it's like with Tom, he has to. As a couple, you have a duty. You have certain duties that are supposed to come naturally, and sometimes when they don't, you try to force yourself. And we've seen this through the whole series of these two, having a shoulder to cry on, but at the end of the day, still that like they have their games that they want to play. And I think again now the tension rose so much because there's no time to breathe because this deal is right there, and everyone feels like they're going to be screwed over. So it kind of feels like, in a sense, like a Cold War, but for business, and it's it's chaotic. So tell me your other. I actually want to get your thoughts on going a little bit back in the intro where we see Kendall speaking to his wife. Let me get your thoughts on that because it did go a little bit political, but I think it was really realistic.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like it's kind of a commentary on like how politics can be kind of divisive sometimes, especially for families. So we see Kendall's daughter is, I think, apparently like being bullied in school, and there's like this like anti-ATN group at her school, and Kendall's kind of like brushing it off and not taking like some accountability for it. I mean, it's out of his control, but at the same time, you could say he's also like a part of this because he's at the head, right? And it kind of like, I mean, Rafa and Kendall's relationship was always rocky at the start, but now I feel like once it starts getting into their children's lives, it starts like the continents are starting to break apart, and the relationship gets even worse. I wonder like if the kids will start like resenting him in a way. Maybe they start becoming more political, and then they start realizing that their dad is actually part of the problem. What do you think?
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, it is a complex situation. I was listening to some things Rava said, and I felt like it was a little bit unfair. But then I think the main takeaway was that it is true. We hardly see the kids in Kendall's life. We only see them during events, and they kind of feel like an attachment to him or just like an accessory, just to have him there. I also like how the settings are always fresh. They're always new. There's a lot of places that I haven't seen before, and I remember in season 3, like this is the first time we see Rava's house, and I was like, oh shit, and then we get to see like their room, but we don't see it anymore because of course he's super busy. So we don't see much of Rava, and I think that's an indicator because we do see a lot of extras and stuff being casted here, and we do see like people that they have like speaking roles and stuff, but we don't see Rava enough. She's kind of like Nate. She comes back, but not for too long, and then the kids are.
She's kind of like a reminder of Kendall that he has other responsibilities, right?
Yeah, for sure, and I he has been unfair too, I think, with Rava. He's taken out like his anger sometimes on her, as we've seen in the last season. So, but I think, he has a lot on his shoulders right now. So it's not a great time to talk. I hate that in real life. It's like the most important thing you can do is just talk and discuss. And I hate that. Where do they talk in front of like a cafe or something, and everyone's walking by and there's not enough time, and she leaves. I always hate that. I wish that there was, for them at least, I sympathize. I hope one day they could actually discuss things and be real. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of awkward situations, we also had Roman and Jerry. They got a little spicy. But I think it was a kind of needed conversation, right? And Jerry kind of, realizes, what their relationship was, and now she's kind of like growing some balls on her. So what do you think of that conversation?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Her relationship confuses me. Some of you guys were saying that what she did wasn't sexual to her. I disagree completely. I know it's a power play, and like she wants to get as much, get him around her finger as much as possible. But I disagree. I think she was having fun too, and now how it's really interesting. The second you slip up with power, because Logan would have handled that situation differently. He would have fired her, and maybe he would have said like, "All right, come back, you bitch," or whatever like that, and leave it like that. And like she has no choice. But with Roman, it's different because everybody knows in a room that they're a little bit weaker than their father. They're trying to pretend that they're him. So I think she sensed that, and she's very intelligent, right? She planned like what to do before she actually spoke to him. And she's like, this is what I'm gonna do. And also I have blackmail to back it up. So don't fuck with me. And now Roman's backed into a corner, so he cannot do anything. I think if Logan was in that situation, for sure he would have handled it differently, where Jerry would have been really screwed somehow. But let's just say he slipped up. And I'd say kind of like I'm on Jerry's side. Because I think Roman is pretty inappropriate, but again she like enabled him for like certain. She didn't stop it, So
true.
I don't. It's all complex, and that's a beautiful thing, and that's beautiful writing, because it's super complex, and you can have different views on different narrative paths.
It's funny you mentioned too that he's not Logan, because in this episode we also saw Nate come back for a little bit, and he had a brief conversation with Kendall, and he even said like, I'm not Gil and you're not Logan, and maybe that's good. I always like that thought. It's like why are you trying so hard to be like your father? Like you could have those traits that made him a good businessman, but like do your own thing, right? Don't try to copy someone that for the most part was a tyrant, and it's interesting too, because we saw other characters change over the course of this season, like Greg. Like now he's become like so red pill, I guess.
Greg's red pill. All right.
This motherfucker is like firing like 300 people with like no remorse. I'm like, shit.
Right, he reminds me of Tom, very much like Tom. Like he's the predecessor, but more Giga Chad. Like Greg is the OG right there. Greg should take the company for sure.
Right.
Now, so when Nate came back, that was interesting because I was like, girl, that's some tea, because Tom and Nate and, the whole, I was going to say menage a trois, the whole, triangle thing. I thought it was going to be a lot more dramatic. I'm glad it wasn't, though, because I was going to be like, damn, these people are really unstable. But it's interesting that Nate left the party because of the optics. I found that whole thing a little bit unsettling, because he was saying like this guy's like a blabbermouth or whatever, but why is that motherfucker staying there then? Why doesn't he leave if the optics are so bad? And then at the same time too, Gil went to Siobhan's wedding, albeit like for some, I don't know, he wanted to get like one up or something like that, but like I don't think the optics would be that bad. But, again, Jeremy Strong, he's an excellent writer, and he's in this political space, and he knows about stuff. So I could see that being really authentic anyway. So I trust the writing in that part. Let me get your thoughts now on the big one where Madsen shows up, because Shiv told Madsen about what's going down. And anyway, Madsen was invited by Logan a while ago. So let me get your thoughts on that whole entrance.
Yeah, I thought that was perfect timing with the whole Kendall speech, and he's like, "Let's have a moment of silence," so and then he just like bursts like, "Woo!" That's part of it, right? He's a party crasher, right? And he just has this vibe about him. He feels kind of foreign in this gathering in a way, because he's big tech and this is mainly like politics, especially because of the whole like it's a social commentary and like the regulation of like big tech and algorithms and stuff. So I thought that was like a great visual aspect of that. And Shiv is trying to like consult him on how to kind of like read the room a bit, but he's still kind of like new to this, and this is really not his game. He's more of just like, I just want to sit back and just like enjoy the fruits of my company, right? I thought that whole scene with Kendall where they had like that whole passive aggressive argument, I thought that was so well done, because it was like a trade-off. Like they were just going back and forth, and like the whole room got silent, and it just like you cut the tension with a knife. It was so good.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that a lot, and I think Madsen really slipped up in this episode on multiple times or occasions. And he treated I don't know her name, but he treated his communications officer, I would say, or whatever.
Oh, Ebba.
Yeah. He treated her. I was surprised he actually was like so open and like kind of disrespectful. I was like, oh, what the hell? And then she goes off and needs to smoke a cig real fast, and then all of a sudden, Kendall and Roman, they take the opportunity when it proposes itself, and they get some tea on Madsen, and it's that the numbers in India of like people downloading the app and stuff like that is completely false. It's that the numbers apparently were equivalent to like 2 Indias, and that's not true whatsoever.
Right.
And that's going to be a big problem in the future. And Shiv, realizes that, and she's like, "Oh shit, I made a huge mistake." And I knew she made a huge mistake. You guys are saying no. Yeah, she did. I mean, that's her character since season 1. She always thought she's like the best of the best. I mean, look, they're all talented, but at the end of the day, they're half of what they should be. And I think that's the point, because Logan, again, like you said, was such a tyrant. So it was an interesting parallel between the children and Logan himself. Even Jerry, I think, can handle situations a lot more better than they can. And that, well, I actually like smiled a little bit too, because I am rooting for the company. I'm not gonna lie, because we've been with the company ever since the beginning. So like, why would I hate it? I don't want to like watch a show that I hate the characters, I hate the people.
Right. They're deliciously like I don't know, it's a weird way. It's like you want to hate them, but at the same time they're the protagonists and they're just so fun to watch. It's like, why would you want to root for anybody else too?
Yeah.
And they're self-aware too. I mean, they even like they said like, I'm gonna take the libtards and the Nazis. So it's like they know who they are as a company, right? It's not like they're drinking the bullshit, right? Like they're more self-aware than their father ever was, right? So I think it's a great, like, almost satirical in a way. It's like they kind of like, stereotype these kind of cultural and social political figures, right? So we got this big election coming up. I want to get your predictions on what we might see.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because there's a new character that's going to, I think his name is Jimenez. That's this new character that I haven't seen before. I think he's on the left. And I think the guy that from the last season is still going to run. And also Connor wanted, I mean, now he's actually going to run. Yeah. I think Connor, I think he's, with his father's passing, he like tried to push it to the side. I mean, I know he's affected by it, but he'd rather just push it to the side. I think he has that power, but I think he's not going to win, of course, and I think that this is going to really affect him. So I think we're going to see another side exposed. Like as we saw Tom and Shiv have that conversation, I think something along those lines will happen with Connor. And it'll be really dramatic, and I actually feel quite sad for him. I don't know. So Kendall had a great idea. He said to change things. He said that to Nate. He said we're gonna change things, complete reboot. So perhaps like for the left, maybe it's gonna be hard to see, but with the Pierce acquisition and stuff, maybe the left can join and have more appearances on ATN, and it's a lot more, I'd say, fair. So that's going to throw a wrench into the shit pile. And also we see Ken talk to Frank, and he said we want to buy Gojo, and that's huge. They could actually swallow Gojo whole. I'm like, whoa. So, but anyway, get me your thoughts on the election thing and also that Gojo deal.
Yeah, complete reverse Uno. Like that's really interesting. That's really ballsy of Kendall to even propose that, and it's kind of callback to when he first recruited Frank into his coup. So it kind of echoes what we've seen before. And with Connor, I thought it was so interesting too, because it's like Willow was so supportive of him. It's funny how like they went from like talking about like they were having doubts about their future, and now she's like, full, what they call them, the con heads.
Yeah, the con heads.
And it's kind of like a foil in a way for like Shiv and Tom, right? They always say like they're on each other's side, but they're really against each other. But Willa is actually like the one person that believes in Connor, right? He even said that too. He's like, I would rather listen to the one person who actually believes in me. I thought that was interesting. But who knows? Maybe they'll go to Amman and be like an ambassador or something. I think that'll actually be really funny and really interesting to see like Connor like have a be like a, what do they call, like a foreign diplomat or something. But it seems like we also have the funeral coming up, and Roman is going to spearhead this. So I wonder, and it's gonna be actually really interesting seeing him like give that speech, because especially considering his last words weren't like the ones he wanted to say to his father. But yeah, really interesting stuff. I can't wait to see what the next episode brings.
Yeah, me too. What would you rate this episode?
This episode, I mean, it's not my favorite episode to be honest, but it's still really done well, and it definitely has that Succession feel where everybody's kind of building their arsenals a bit in preparation for like this big event. So for me, it probably gets an 8 out of 10. How about you?
I think I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I think I loved what they did in Logan's passing, Connor's wedding, with the camera work. And this time it felt a lot like that coupled with stage play. And there was a lot of moving pieces, and Roman was going in and out, and the camera focuses on him, and then he says his line. So I feel like there's a lot of coordination, and then the dialogue. I mean, this is really all dialogue driven. This was really stationary, right? We didn't get to see different locations, so they had to find a way to make it really energetic, and I think they really succeeded. And so that's why I think I'll give it a 9 out of 10, nearly perfect episode for me. But that is our review for Succession episode 7. Yeah, episode 7. Again, now streaming HBO Max. Listen, guys, you made it to the end of this video. Please like this video. And we're doing really well in each of our Succession videos. So I want to thank you so much for actually supporting us. And if you're new to the channel, welcome to the Lunch Table Podcast, and check out our other reviews as well. And of course, we have something big and juicy coming for you guys.
Ooh,
pretty soon.
Spoilers.
Yeah,
thank you guys. Thank you. Welcome to all our new supporters of the channel. I appreciate it. Anything helps us. Like a share. Give us feedback if you think we're doing great. If you want to see us review a movie or show, let us know. But yeah, check us out on whatever platform you're listening to: Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and of course YouTube as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Until then, fuck off.
Big and juicy. Fuck off.